When last time I re-released your brother's episode, a friend of mine asked they had listened to it, and their main takeaway was they wanted to know who was the evil twin. And I know you guys have a triplet, so that might factor into things, but who do you think, you or Finn, who is the more evil part of this?
I mean, I definitely agree that 100% it's not our sister. It's not Grace. She's an angel. Finn and I, you know what? That's hard saying. I think both of us maybe get up to some hijinks. I think out of necessity I have to offset it and say Finn, but I feel like he would maybe say the same thing about me, so we'll go with that.
Do you remember, like, when you guys were growing up getting into stuff together? Which one of you instigated the most hijinks?
Um, I mean, that's hard to say, like uh yeah, Finn definitely, likes to give people shit sometimes. But I feel like we always were kind of on the same page, like if we were gonna get up to some shit, I think we were probably both down, which is funny. There in many ways, like I don't really remember one of us doing something and the other one following. It was always, and this is like a fairly uh applicable statement to everything. We kind of just like did it together, you know? Like yeah, I don't know. Finn and I were as kids, and and pretty much still as adults, like we're kind of just into the same shit. We're like, oh, we both are trying to go snowboarding. I feel like it was like, oh yeah, we're on the same page.
I know I think I asked him, but not the I didn't know enough to ask him about who's the evil one, but I think I definitely asked him some stuff about having a twin brother. And then I purposely didn't re-listen to his episode, and I kind of like the idea of maybe asking you guys similar stuff and getting different answers. So I don't know if this is repetition, if anyone listened to his recently, or if you didn't, you know what I asked him, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Who out of you two, whose idea was it to snowboard first?
Man, I think it's exactly the same answer to the hijinks question. Like, I feel like we were both, we were playing hockey as, we were just like kids. That's kind of like what you did. It felt like we were just over it. There's one point when I remember we were like going to COP in between uh games at a tournament. There was like a morning game and like evening, and we went in the afternoon, and that it was at that moment I think both of us were like, you know, why are we doing all this? It would have been more fun to spend the whole day at COP, and we would have saved our mom the headache of driving. So
Yeah, that a lot of back and forth. That's I mean, kids have way more stamina than adults, but thinking about like two games with a day of riding in between, that is a lot of effort.
oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, you saying that now, it's like thinking about like yeah, it's insane. I mean, even just one thing on its own is enough.
What do you think your mom thought about? Like, I know, I mean, maybe not all parents like really care or like feel as like emotional about it, but when a kid like wants to stop doing sports to focus on. I guess snowboarding is a sport, but like quit organized team sports to do something else. It might not sit that well with the parent. But then your parents must have had two kids doing it at the exact same time.
Yeah, for sure, like and because we're a triplet, it's like our sister Grace, she was doing her thing too, and I think Finn and I like part of why we were always doing the same thing. I mean, we wanted to, but it also was convenient, it was uh Finn and I had the same schedule, it just cost twice as much for them. Uh but we were always like going to the same places, like I remember the first time that like I was apart from Finn for a considerable amount of time, for like more than 5 hours, like or I'm sure it happened before, but like I still have, a memory of like when that happened and the first time, of course, we live in different cities now, but as a kid, I mean, as a triplet, like the three of us, we went everywhere together for the first years, and then, Finn and I continued to go everywhere together for many years after.
And still, like everyone that I talk to about you two, like definitely confuses you two. Like I assume that's gonna be a struggle for the end of until the end of time for both of you.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I like we'll both say it. Where like if it bothered me when I got called the wrong name, like I wouldn't have any hair left. I would have yanked it all out. Like it is common. And I don't like there's definitely moments when I don't feel like I look like him, but sometimes I'll see a photo of me or something, and I'll be like, oh my God, that's like I look like Finn. But even like the iPhone, how it has like a human recognition, it has no idea. Um,
Yeah, I think when we first put out Finn's episode, he sent me a bunch of photos, and there was one. I think it was of you that like there was context. I think maybe it was you editing him, so like he was on the computer, but it was you in the photo, and I made the like green album art or whatever, like the post, thinking it was him the whole time. And then when I sent it to him to see the draft, he informed me that it was you instead. So I'm a untrained eye, and I can't really tell these photos apart.
oh man, it's yeah, dude, it's technical. There's people out there that don't even know that there's two of us, they just think that there's one person. Like even recently, Uh, my buddy and boss at the skate shop, Kevin, Lowry was just telling me a story this winter, and he wouldn't tell me who it was, but one of uh his friends was talking to him about something and was like, um, man, like how does Finn do it? He's like filming snowboarding videos, like and working at the shop all the time, you know, like, and it's just like, yeah, there's two of us. Uh, But I thought that was awesome. I was like, Kev, man, you should have just told him that it was, that Finn's just taking that red eye, between spots and gripping boards at the shop. Like,
Yeah, that's very complimentary. I think it just means you're both excelling at what you're doing, and then someone just assumes it's all one person. That's funny. Like, did you guys ever like what kind of pranks were you guys pulling growing up? Like, did you trick anyone else into thinking you were the same person?
I mean, that's like that's definitely like such a classic twin question, and I've had the same answer my entire life. Uh, we didn't need to really. People mix this up so much as kids that it just happened. Um, like people were just confused, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like I think dealing with that, uh, especially, maybe when you're a kid, that's just like more annoying, you know, because it's not anymore. It's like it's totally all good. Um, but yeah, the classic one still, I mean, like when we were a little bit younger and we were going out drinking, people, come up to you and they're like, people are like, "Oh my, are you guys twins?" I don't know. We would always fuck with people, and just tell people that we just met each other that night. Uh, and we still do. And we still do if somebody, is looking particularly uh gullible, just to fuck with them.
That's
They're like,
funny.
no way. You guys just met each other. You look so alike. We're like, whoa, man, no way.
That's hilarious. That I can see like being out drinking or whatever. That would absolutely mess with me.
Yo, yeah, I mean, we get a good laugh out of it. It's definitely some bullshit, but yeah, you gotta also have fun with it. Like, um, it's just like, yeah, like people. Finn's been living in Vancouver for 3 years, and people still like be yelling Finn, at me on the street and stuff sometimes. Like, and notably, I gotta say, I don't really think people be yelling at Finn, saying JJ. I think I'm getting that. I'm getting the Finn more.
Well, I think like I just had Chaz on an episode and he thought that I had released like a JJ episode. He was
Yeah, yeah.
referring it to it as your episode, so I guess that's the one person who went the other way.
Respect that. Yeah, respect to Chess for that. Appreciate that for
Did
sure.
they like were you guys together in school growing up or did they keep you apart because there was too much trouble caused?
Uh, you know what? Man, I'm blanking. Like in the end of like elementary school, maybe we were in separate classes, but there was only two classes, you know. So it was one or the other. Um, and then in high school a little bit, but also, the like we had a pretty dope high school experience just with like the times of technology, and like we took like all our afternoon classes online through a public school. So we were in the same classes just because then we went snowboarding. Um, every afternoon we just like grind out the school online in the fall, and then work on it like together and do that. We were doing the same shit, and then just like leave school at 11:30 and snowboard in the winter, which was so sick.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream life. Like for in high school, you can't think of anything better.
100%. And I mean, just like that, like it was the perfect time, like still I talk to young kids that snowboard in the city, and sometimes they went to the high school that we did or whatever. And like you couldn't even do that there now. You couldn't have done that there 5+ years ago just because like I don't know, I think so many like people just blew it, like Finn and I were driven. We're like, I'm gonna be done school by the time snow hits. Um, and when snow's gone, I'm gonna finish that shit before the end of the year in the spring, so it's all good. But I think that got burnt out by people just trying to avoid doing it.
So you did well in school. Like you kept up your grades and the snowboarding.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that was like the deal as a kid. Like, our mom was like, "Do good in school, you can snowboard every day."
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that must have kept your mom real happy.
For sure, yeah, like it would have been fun to not like but at the same time, like I'm glad that I did it. Like I don't feel like and I would say this for Finn too, I don't think that we came out uh inhibited by any way, through that type of schooling. Although some of our, I have peers that didn't do any of the schoolwork that were in that thing, so that's on them. Yeah, we had a good reason, and it worked out.
So then, what age? Like, when did you start snowboarding?
Man, I don't know, probably like 12 or something, but it's funny, our mom just like we got into it because our mom wanted to learn, and she would have been like in her 40s or early 40s probably at that point, and I actually don't know why she was so compelled to learn, but she was, which is cool, and she was dragging us out and we hated to go out there. But then yeah, the tables turned and then she couldn't keep us away. The next thing she knew, she was driving us to COP all the time. So, uh, yeah, but it was just casual at first, and then, I think Finn mentioned it in his. I did do a little bit of homework just because Finn and I have a history of saying the exact same thing to people shortly after one says it. So, but then we found these snowboard mags, these snowboard and skateboard mags, basically like in our elementary school, and we're like, holy shit, this is cool. Um, I remember like one article in particular was about like backyard snowboarding parks. This was in a Transworld, an old Transworld, and there was part of the article was about a park in Bragg Creek where we grew up at the Lajeunesse brothers, um, Nash and Spencer, OG Alberta legends. Uh, and we're like, what? This is in this magazine and it's here in Bragg Creek, this like little town. That's crazy. Uh, so that was definitely something too when I was like, damn, this is dope.
Are they twins or just brothers?
They're not twins. Yeah, they're just brothers, but yeah, when we were like young like that, I mean, they had a crazy backyard park enough to be in Transworld, but they were like filming street shit. That was like probably some of the first, um, like yeah, street. Those were probably two of the first people that we like saw like street footage of, and knowing that it was like in Calgary, being
And did like they embrace you guys at all? Like, do you know them personally at this point?
No, no, not personally. One time we jumped Nash's car at this little skate park close by, uh, in this rink. But yeah, don't know them. Like we had mutual friends, and funnily enough, um, Nash taught yoga in Bragg Creek and was my mom's teacher. Like one day, my mom's like, "Yeah, there's this yoga teacher. He's a snowboarder. His name's Nash." Finn and I are like, "What? Like, that's cool." Um, but yeah, don't really know him. Just know of him. Put some respect on Bragg Creek snowboarders like that for sure.
That I didn't know anything about you guys getting into it because of your mom. That's one of the coolest like origin stories probably ever told on here. How long did she keep it up for? Like, how far did she go with her career?
Oh, I mean, she just was like she had no career. She just was like, I want to learn to snowboard and like go out there, go to the mountain.
And she did.
Yeah, like she's never like gotten off the ground on her snowboard or anything. Like she was literally just like, being outside's dope, and I'm gonna get my three kids out of the house, like drag them out to Nakiska or something. Um, yeah, like she was at best an extremely casual snowboarder, and now uh less so even, But yeah, I think that we appreciate her going out on a limb like that and taking us with her, being like, I'm learning, you're learning.
She would like have a more of a understanding of it all than most parents do, like being on the somewhat inside of it.
Yeah, like never uh she never broke the cultural barrier. I'll say that. I mean, except of course, by proxy and now by just like pure exposure, uh, she could piece together a sentence in snowboard terminology. Maybe not seriously, but yeah, it's cool. Of course. Especially for somebody that is like met her mom to be like, whoa, you brought that it wasn't like Finn and I being like, let's go snowboarding. It was like her being like, you're coming and us like putting up a fuss. Until something changed at some point.
Yeah, do you actually like do you have any memory of when it changed? Like when it went from feeling like kind of a chore to like being your ultimate like focus in life?
I mean, honestly, like if I had to hone it in, it would go back. It would go back to that day at like between the hockey games when I was like, oh yeah, this is like the shit that I want to do. Finn and I both, we're like, yeah, let's do this shit. I mean, and then there's like a forum snowboarding video, um, former against Stevie Bell, this snowboarder. That wasn't my first snowboarding movie. Like the most influential one was the year prior called Forum That. Performer against him, Stevie Bell had the ender of his video part is on this big ass rail in Calgary. Um, and you could and you can like see the children's hospital in the background. Uh, and like that was this moment when I think for Finn and I, we were like, holy shit, that's in Calgary. Like we could go there. Uh, you can do this shit here. Um, and there was actually a bunch of sick Calgary footage in that video, so that was a big moment too to just be like, oh yeah, like let's go there.
It's always interesting me. Calgary is like infinitely advanced in the snowboarding scene compared to Edmonton. And we're like so close, so I would always think like we would be almost as advanced, but it seems like there are a few people from here for sure, but it's like Calgary has so many legends. Like, is there a reason for that, or it's just like chance? I feel like there's something in the water for all you guys.
I mean, I just think like you have this in between with the proximity to the mountains when like there's like with the mountains and with sunshine, like our season is sometimes, the start of November to the end of May. It's just way longer. I was just up in Edmonton last weekend and I was like thinking that it just snowed or something. Um, and I was asking Will Fraser, I'm like, Will, like, what's up with the hills? And everything was closed, and I'm like, whoa, it's all closed already. And it ended up being nice out, and then we just like skated, which was, still really sick. But yeah, I think it just closes earlier. But yeah, there's legendary Edmonton snowboarders and legendary footage in Edmonton, just because sometimes, there's a Chinook in Calgary, but Edmonton's holding snow. So there's prolific footage over the years, undoubtedly, which is cool. And you can just drive up there like,
It's nice to hear that from someone who knows. Like I mean, I just assumed all that. I know a couple of people into it, but it's never been like something I've known too much about. So maybe I'm talking out of turn, and there are legends from both. It just seems to me there are so many more people and so much more like footage coming out of Calgary than there is here.
yeah, I mean, and I think that's true. I think that like at least maybe in the past few years, I think Calgary has kind of been maybe the mecca of street snowboarding per se, street snowboarding quotation marks around that in Canada. Like I feel like it kind of used to be Quebec and maybe I'm just saying that because I live here and I want to believe that, but I definitely feel like uh you know it kind of was like thinning out a little bit out east and some other people, stuff changed, and then there's still like a really good community. I mean, there's this crew. They're not from here, but like they live here, called Paid Programming, and they just won like long format video of the year from an American magazine, Slush magazine. This was just like a few days ago. Um, you know. So like those guys are the shit, that's like new wave, big dog shit for sure.
And they moved there like just for the purpose of like riding and filming.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's funny because they go back. They're like two of these cats, Jesse and Quinn, are from uh they're from Ontario, and they're like the filmers and editors and snowboarders. Kind of those two do all that shit, and um like this other homie, Stefan Taco is from Vancouver, but everybody consolidated here. There's other people in that crew. There's a bunch of Calgarians too. But yeah, I think they just came out here because like the scene was good. There's people doing it, and now they, go out there and film shit. But like Quinn and Jesse live like 300 meters away from me, so uh, you know, we'll do a little, we'll have a fire in their backyard and show the homie Taco we got a cover of King Snow. We'll show that there. There's like the premieres are sick. Um, Yeah, so it's just yeah, it's good. It's good shit. Notably though, I will just say this. I went up to Edmonton for a snowboarding event, this micro event, collab with the crew actually from Calgary, upper management. Shout out to those cats for show. Uh, they're the shit. But there was like 70 people at Sunridge for this snowboarding event, man, and I was saying this shit to Will. I was like, I don't know if we get that many people in Calgary, you know? Like, I'd like to think we would, but I don't know.
Yeah, I saw the like footage from that and it was extremely impressive. And I don't know if it's that thing again where I'm just not fully dialed in with all of it. Like I couldn't really ascertain if that was a big crowd and like a huge turnout for them, or if that was like standard for snow events. But it looked like really cool, and there were a lot of people there. I like can't think of that many people coming together for something that like niche and focused. So I was really impressed with the turnout. I'm glad to hear that it was as impressive as I thought it was.
Oh yeah, I mean it was definitely one of the most fun snowboarding events I've ever been to in my whole life. It was so sick, so dope.
I love hearing that people actually move to Calgary from elsewhere. Like usually, I mean, since I was young until now, it's everyone I know moves elsewhere. Like moves to Van, moves to Montreal, Berlin. We never like get people from other places. It seems we just give them away.
100%, man. Yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, it's definitely some snowboarders, man. Yeah, it has gone that way here, and I think that maybe it'll, I don't know, continue to go that way. It doesn't hurt that, you know, Calgary's cheaper to live in than Vancouver as well, and Toronto, uh, for sure. But I don't know, man. It's cool, like summer out here is also so sick. Like, uh, you know, Calgary's better in the summer than the winter. So if you like the winter, you're laughing.
Have you like throughout your life or whatever, have you lived elsewhere or thought about living elsewhere? Or has it always been Calgary?
Yeah, I lived in Victoria for like a year. When I was like 21, this was yeah, I just turned 21. I like hurt my neck. Um, had some crazy neck injury shit go down, and basically yeah, I was told by uh my neurosurgeon or whatever, like No skateboarding, no snowboarding for a year. Like I'll see you in a year. Um, don't 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 fuck around, you know? And yeah, obviously, at that point in my life that was, huge. I was 21 and pretty much only identified with those things. So that was kind of a sink or swim. And then yeah, I'm like got that news, told no snowboarding for a year, moved to Vic 2 weeks later just because I was like, man, I can't be in Calgary around all my friends, around all this snow and shit. I'd rather just not be around it. Um, yeah, so then I was out there for a year, came back for the appointment, moved back to see my neurosurgeon again. That was sick out there, man. It was such a dope year. It was amazing.
And that is like pretty cool to have that much discipline. I would think like even at that age there are people who probably might not even take the full advice or might like dip their toes in a tiny bit, like do a bit of skating in the off year, but like to fully listen and take that exact year off and then move back for the appointment, that's like a huge flex.
100%. I mean, thank you for saying that. Worth noting, like, by the end of that thing, by the end of the year, I definitely like rolled around on my skateboard. There was like an event up at Sunshine in the spring, and I snowboarded down to it, you know. But I wasn't like jibbing, I wasn't like skating trying shit, you know. Um, like I maybe like rolled down but for the first like half a year, I was definitely like steadfast and maybe too much, when it's like, uh, I don't know, it was interesting. It was an interesting time in my life, undoubtedly, but really amazing too.
How rusty were you after that year? Like did you have to learn a lot of stuff again or was it all muscle memory?
Yeah, it was all good, honestly. Like, um, yeah, like I came back, moved back, saw the neurosurgeon. Neurosurgeon was like, "You're good." Snowboard, like Finn had just finished when I was out in Victoria. Finn was filming for this snowboarder and video beta, and then the next year I was in the mix, and then we filmed for another snowboarder mag video called Everybody Everybody. Uh, I mean, and that was cool, man. And then I fucking hurt my neck again at the end of the winter, and then kind of uh, hung my boots up professionally, I guess. I mean, lacking a better word, I got hurt again, and I was like, fuck having this pressure. I'll do it if I want to, but I mean, that's a whole story too. But no, it was all good. I mean, I took the whole year off, and then that next year was, uh, the best. Probably the best footage I'd ever filmed, and I was lucky enough to have that opportunity and to be able to film a video part, my last video part per se. uh that I'm really proud of, and honestly, like looking back, it made it a lot easier to like I don't want to, saying that I quit is doesn't feel right because like I'm still a snowboarder. I'm still, I'm skating more than I ever have. I'm still doing this shit, but um once I hurt my neck again, I just was like, you know what? I can't have like any pressure externally. I can't have any sponsors. Like I don't want any sponsors. I don't want anybody expecting me to do anything on my snowboard. I only want to do it when I feel comfortable and only do what I feel comfortable doing. Um, fuck it.
That's also incredible. I feel like so many people wouldn't have the self-awareness to like admit that and then like follow through with that decision. They might just run it into the ground and end up. I mean, there's a million negative outcomes for that. So it's very cool that you could like see that and then admit it to yourself and follow through with it.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely like, looking back, it definitely wasn't quite as apparent in the time, but it was, or maybe it was like the my end result with it, like because I hurt my neck again, and I'm like back talking to neurosurgeons and neurologists, trying to be like, yo, what the fuck is happening to me? Um, and I never got an answer, like the last time I saw a neurosurgeon, he said like I can't tell you to keep going, but I can't tell you to stop, because if it was one or the other, I was going to do whatever they told me, if they told me like, look, if you take a fall again like this, you're going to become paralyzed or die, I'd be like, I'm done, you know? But if they're like, it's going to be safe for sure, I would have probably kept trying to film snowboarding and like do it 100%. Um, but because they said they don't know, I was just like, well, fuck sakes, now I have to make this decision, you know? And and I chose the one that ultimately was yeah, the most sustainable and uh the least taxing mentally mostly.
Yeah, my actually next question. I was gearing up to ask if you've been injury free since that year off, but obviously not. Must be like pretty freeing and like liberating though, not to like be have the weight of any sponsors or any like bosses telling you what to like how much you need to film or like how many posts you have to make and stuff. At least you're like free of all that. A lot of people like are kind of like confined to that for the time being at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's interesting to have that, juxtaposed against my past and also against, Finn, right? Because obviously Finn doing it the way that he has and has made it really easy for me. People still think I'm doing it, even though I'm not. Like, like this is a couple years ago, but these homies out of Salt Lake City that run this, it's called Garage Snowboard Mag. Uh, they printed a picture of Finn in Halifax, but they labeled it with my name. Shout out to those guys. Finn was actually stoked. The, I think it was the homie Norm, but either way, the Garage Snow homies like reached out to Finn and was like, dude, we fucked up. I'm so sorry, you know? And Finn was just stoked. He's like, "Yeah, that's dope." Like never got my copy, man. I never got my incentive check for that one, man.
That's a great example of when you guys can kind of like trick people into thinking you're one entity when it like kind of works out for both of you that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, man, I still like, I still know all those the homies that Salmon and all that stuff and they take care of me, but I'll definitely be like, "Yo, man, I like everybody thinks I'm Finn, so like I need a new board, man." You don't want Finn to be riding, a snowboard that's a few years old, man. Like
Yeah, that good leverage.
great leverage, dude. Box touchdown. But also notably, I'm in the rare situation where I get hand-me-downs from my younger brother. Um, so that's dope actually.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's good for you in the sense of getting stuff, but also nice, like, just to have that dynamic with the younger brother doing the typical older brother thing. That's gotta feel good too.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole older brother, younger brother shit is just like that's something that we definitely have fun with just because like, you know.
Wait, how much older, yeah, how much younger would he be? Like seconds?
I mean, technically, yeah, but like 2 minutes, you know, 2 minutes. But my sister's a minute older than me, so
Oh, she's the OG.
Oh, it had to be that way, 100%. The only way. Our fearless leader.
Did she like pull that one on you guys like when you were growing up and let you know she was the authority because she was oldest?
She would probably want to, but I think Finn and I were also a little bit of annoying kids, of course, when we would just agree and she would feel like we were ganging up on her. And, Finn and I would just be like, well, we just agree, you know? Um, which looking back must have been so, so ungodly level annoying, for her to deal with. So, luckily she has the patience, of a god.
Yes, that's good. And maybe you and Finn can take a bit of credit for installing or instilling that patience in her.
Yeah, by force.
Yeah.
Sink or swim.
It sounds like you're like very comfortable with your kind of, I guess, lack of a better word, retirement from like the professional side of things. But was it always that way? Like when you first like dropped or like resigned from sponsors and stuff, were you always okay with it, or did you like really miss it at the beginning?
Yeah, I really missed it. I think for sure at the beginning it was hard, like also like at that point it's worth noting as well like that injury um has irreversibly scarred my psyche, my worldview and my mental health, etc., Um so yeah, it was hard, but also that's one of those things is like because there's no answer, it's also like I've never really stopped snowboarding though. Like after I got hurt again, I did it, but then I like started. I was like pushing through the healthcare system trying to find answers, didn't get them, and then I was on my own. So at that point now, it's like, I've gotten a couple of clips since then, and actually just this winter, I went on a trip. I went on my first street trip in years with those paid programming homies to Pittsburgh, and it's just all on my own terms, like if I'm comfortable, I do it. And that doesn't mean that I'm like not gonna like scare myself a little bit, I'm not gonna do the same shit that I used to in terms of like flying through the air, but like the last time it's kind of weird just to contextualize it. Like the last time I hurt myself, like I flew like 80 feet to my neck, Like I got was hitting a big ass jump and I got fucking smoked, you know? So there's also this thing when I'm like, fuck sakes, I fell that hard and I'm okay, Like I fell so hard, like I can eat shit skating, I can be like a few feet off the ground and go down, it's all good, you know? Like, and still, I mean, in a weird way, I love eating shit and being okay. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, I can still take one. Let's go. Um, and I have been hurt since then too. Like a couple of years ago, I tore my MCL snowboarding, and that was like a very humbling moment to be like, oh yeah, like I can still get hurt doing this, just because I'm not snowboarding the way I used to. Like, I'm still, arguably snowboarding, at a again, like quotation marks here, like higher level than, your average weekend warrior. So, um, that was a good lesson, I was okay with that. It was, yeah, it was a good learning experience and just to know that that can still happen and like that's part of it. That's okay. You do it, you fall. Um, and you know,
Yeah, that I mean another grade tried to be able to take that like as a lesson and kind of like be positive and a bit negative at the end of it, but a lot of people I think wouldn't maybe like process that with the same like poise and realization as that and see like, you're still here. Like you're still alive. You didn't make it through.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like, Yeah, exactly, man. It could have been a lot more fucked up than it was. You know, like uh and for that I'm massively grateful and yeah, you live and you learn. Shit's crazy, If the roller coaster was flat, it wouldn't be fun. I mean, sometimes it makes you feel sick, but like yeah, it's good. And just also that I think since then like I've um yeah, gotten more into skating, I definitely like feel better skating. Like snowboarding is definitely a little bit tainted by my injuries in some ways, and also like I have these thoughts of like stuff that I used to do when I'm like, yeah, I would love to hit a big ass jump. That would be sick. And I'll still hit a jump right now. I just am not gonna like chuck my carcass off the biggest booter I can find in a way that maybe back in the day I'd be more tempted to try. Um, but yeah, skating just feels safer sometimes, so that's been really yeah, it's just cool to lean in that way, and of course like I feel like I'm one foot in each I'm a little bit one foot in each pool, when it's like I was working for Vans on work in their snowboarding program and also like working at nine times. Uh so at one point, I'm like I'm doing both, I'm stoked. That was cool. I'm not doing the van shit anymore, but at the time I was fired up.
Well, like when you were younger, kind of in the thick of all the snowboarding, did you have less time or no time to snowboard or skateboard? Like, is that are you able to skate more now because there's less snowboarding in the way of that?
Yeah, for sure. And definitely just like being older, there's more real life shit, like rent's due on the first. Like you go snowboarding, it's like a whole day. Like skating, you can work 8 hours and when it's light till 10, make dinner and go skate for two. And if I skate for a couple hours and I'm actually skating, I'm beat. I'm good. So yeah, skateboarding is just it's just way more accessible, like and I think there's steps that can and should be taken, uh, both here and beyond to make snowboarding more accessible, and like that's something that me and some of my friends we talk about and are working towards. Um, but yes, skating is just it's accessible, it's warm, it's nice. You got to do it when the days are long, It's not like you film snowboarding and you're like, "Oh, great, it's light at 9:30 and dark at 4:30." Like we're skating in the summer, you got it's light till 10:30. You're just like chilling. It's so dope.
Is that like that? How much emphasis was put on filming? Like, did you always have to be working on your next part? Like, it seems like you and Finn and everyone are like constantly filming for something. That must be a lot of pressure too, right? What was the demand like?
Yeah, I mean, less so maybe for me. Actually, no, that's not true. Like after I hurt my neck, like I pivoted away from snowboarding and filming, which I know you and Finn talked about to like just filming. So like we made some videos and it was like me and this and another buddy of mine, Matt Bryson, like we were filming, and at this point, and I was also shooting photos when it was like, okay, I'm just on the media crew, and that's something that I've definitely uh, leaned into after, my injury in those spaces, like when I'm like, oh yeah, like I can still get a photo published in a magazine. I just got to take the photo. Um, and like if you're filming, you gotta like. Uh, Yeah, it's the flip side of the coin, you got to be at the spot, you got to go look around, you got to do all the shit like uh that's epic and even now, like again, this is kind of redundant to like some of the stuff that Finn said, but like when I went on this trip with the uh with Jesse and Quinn, the paid programming homies, like the whole thing, is that they're like, yeah, we need a boarder and a filmer, you know? And I think that, and I appreciate their confidence and A, willingness to film me if I'm feeling it, but B, their trust for me to film what they're doing, and I filmed with those guys a bunch and we shot photos and stuff. So it's also like those are my boys, but I still, I appreciate the trust of anybody that lets me point a camera at them, whether it's a video camera or a photo camera, and whether it's skating or snowboarding or whatever.
It's super cool. Like I wouldn't have really ever thought about this, but listening to you say that, like being a snowboarder or a skateboarder that is facing an injury or like on their way out of the professional side of it, they can still, if given the opportunity, they can film or they can take photos. There'll be like an equal part, like you were saying, like you can still be in the magazines, you can be credited in the videos. It's just as the photo, like you're taking the photo instead of being in it. So many other sports, it would never go that way. Like if an injured, like a player in the NHL is injured, they aren't invited to be a photographer now. Like maybe they are, maybe I don't know every instance, but it seems like they would just be done with hockey, like because of that injury. But with snowboarding, it's cool to be injured and then find a way to still be out there every day with the same crews.
100%, man. Yeah, exactly. And that like that also helped. I mean that not only helped, that like made it okay, and beyond that too, after getting hurt, it was also like, well, I can also like, when we were making the videos and I was filming and we were like producing videos, Finn and I kind of were like putting it together. It's like, you're making a pitch deck and trying to get money, and it's like, well, from a brand, from a snowboarding company, and it's always like, well, I could be on the other side of this, working in snowboarding and still being around the people and stuff that I care about. And I mean, that's why the Vans gig was so dope, because it was exactly that. Like, uh, it was, yeah, looking at the proposals instead of making them, uh, just to be involved is cool, and I think there are paths forward for that. Uh, to stay involved and like to be around, your people and your community per se.
I guess it is. It's kind of inevitable. I guess it would be in all facets of life, but I mean, with snowboarding, like anyone, you can only do it for a certain time, right? Like it's not, maybe not like an entirely young person's game, but there are injuries. People get old, retire. So, like to be thinking about what you can do in the industry beyond snowboarding, I'm sure like it's probably useful beyond injuries, like just to have that in mind for when you hit a certain age or when you're not like able to perform like you used to. Like it seems like your situation was kind of expedited because of the injury, but you would think a lot of people, in theory, would think about this a bit more.
Yeah, like I think that is the perfect way to describe it. It was expedited, but also, that's like the natural way of things, especially when you're in that space. Like it can't last forever, you know what I mean? And like, the sun starts setting in the middle of the day. Like it's it's hard when you see, and this isn't just in skateboarding and snowboarding, this is in like this is in everything, but it's like, it's better to put your jersey in the rafters while you're still scoring.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Like, yeah, and just to acknowledge that that's how it is. There's some snowboarders that'll be able to get paid to do that shit when they're 50, but like very, very, very few, and that's like, you're now in the legend category, and there's not many seats at the table, which is okay. Uh, which is okay, which is good. It's like, um, I think as influential are the like legends that everybody knows the name of are like uh for each for each geographic area, there's like people that are prominent in that area that are like as important to the people in the community in that space as like the global superstars or whatever. Whether that's, like these uh whether that's anything, whether that's skating, whether that's music, whether that's art, like there's always, the local heroes that were good enough to do some shit with it and it just didn't line up. Um, those people are hugely important.
And maybe, I mean, it sounds like you're very positive and handling this well, but I guess if you want to like see it, justified a little bit more, you could think it like you got it over with in a way. Like there are people who are gonna take forever to figure out what you figured out. Maybe stretch it over a long time, maybe have a couple more injuries and maybe like fade out in a way that isn't as glorious. At least you like got it over with. You like ripped the band-aid off and you've already found other things in life to like fill that void, I guess, like if you want to call it that. Like you've done it, ended that chapter and like moved on very gracefully. I feel other people it might take forever and they might never even do it as smoothly as you did early on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that and yeah, definitely, I appreciate that because from the inside it wasn't smooth. It's I feel like a large part of my 20s were deeply turbulent. But again, that's the way that it goes, and yeah, I agree. That was the thing about like when I first was injured and I moved to Vic. It was like prior to that, I'm like a kid, and my identity is like as a snowboarder and a skateboarder, and then suddenly you can't or told you can't do either of those things. You're like, well, then what am I? You know, um, like that is. And I think that like that's a real realization for any major injury for anybody that's like got into something in their teens and then get banged up bad as an early adult, because you're no longer, thinking as much like a kid. Your brain's starting to develop, you're starting to find your identity, but like you're put at this crossroads of like, well, like who am I then, What and I'm happy to say, it's like um yeah, on some bullshit, like you diversify and you reduce your risk, like, you know, like that's some business school bullshit, but like if you got your hands in different pots, like if you can't snowboard, that's okay because you got other shit, that you're stoked on. Like you hurt your ankle and you can't skate for a couple weeks, like obviously that sucks, but like if you got something else to do, you're not just sitting on the couch for 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah, which I assume a lot of people would be like a lot of people who can't like figure this out as quick as you seem to have. They're the ones who would just be sitting around not knowing what to do without that like one piece.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times, like people getting hurt and then I mean it's hard to not let your mental slip, being hurt fucking sucks. Um, but yeah, there's ways to mitigate that and to also see the silver lining to be like, okay, well I can't do that, but now I have all this time for this. Um, and that's okay. I like this. I like doing this. I'm gonna miss this other thing, but like I'm not without uh, you know, something to do. Obviously, you want to be as unhindered as possible and do as much of what you want to do at any given time. True, but that's not how it is.
Yeah, that's a good, like a great, a healthy, level-headed way to look at all these things, and I'm like so happy to hear that you think about it this way, and it just makes me think about the people who don't see it that way and how hard it must be for them. But I mean, good for you if you wanna, see who's on either side of the coin. I would say your approach is so good compared to what other people might have to go through to get to the same conclusion. That actually makes me, I wanted to ask you about art. Like, I know you were just here for the show at the attic. Is art one of the things that you're doing instead of what you used to do? Like, is that keeping you busy and happy now when you aren't able to snowboard as much?
Yeah, like 100%. Just having like exposure to that as a youth, and then I definitely like when I, starting when I first heard myself, I was like, oh well, I have all this time to like do this shit more, and then yeah, onwards too. Yeah, it's just keep the mind busy. Keep the hands moving and the mind focused and like just making stuff feels good, but um. Yeah, like being up there too. That was sick. Like I've never shown anything that I've made until yeah, last weekend. So, shout out to all those homies, Mackie and Tegan and Ian and everybody involved with that space. That was cool. Like yeah, that's just stuff to do at home too. Again, like uh now too, it's like I don't want to snowboard for 8 hours. I mean, if I could, maybe I'd want to, but I can't. So yeah, that's just like one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things to do, like sewing, whether it's like making stuff to hang or like yeah, making quilts or drawing that. I mean, this the quilt making has been kind of what I've been into lately, which yeah, is cool. I think it's like such a domestic activity. It's sick.
Is that like something you like? How long have you been marinating on the idea of that? Is that something you thought about like when you were snowboarding, or is that like recent to you?
No, not at all. Yeah, like I mean, I think yeah, like making things has always been around me, like from both of my parents in different ways. They're both creative people, in different manners and make shit and makes things happen, which is cool. Um, so yeah, there's just something to be said about like doing something, you know, that you just like to do. And then yeah, the quilting started in COVID. Just had so much time. So much time. Um yeah, and then like my stepmom like shared with me uh yeah, like she is kind of a text she's an artist as well and also plays with textile stuff, and she showed me some quilters, like this guy called Ben Venom, who's like it's like American trad but like on quilts. And then this other group called Gee's Bend in like the rural South. It's like a post-slavery community. And these women just this whole community is just so famous for they make the most beautiful quilts. So I just yeah, inspired by those things, had lots of time, was like let's rip it. And then yeah, honestly kind of, life gets busy and comes in ebbs and flows, but I've kind of yeah been making quilts since. 6 years, yeah, which is cool. I really like making stuff that will get used. That's something that also really gets me excited, like if I can make a quilt that somebody's, hopefully gonna have a cup of tea under for years to come. That's dope. That's so cool.
Yeah, definitely like the coolest. I would say I love when you can like contribute something to the world that also is gonna be like used for good, like only good, really. I can't think of like a negative use of a quilt. Like if someone was to get one from you, I can't think of what wrong they would do with it. So I guess that thing has like a lifetime of positive effect on people.
Totally, yeah, and it's just like the this like this like dualistic purpose, like hopefully they look cool, hopefully people like how they look, and especially if I'm making a quilt for somebody, I hope they like it. Usually that's assured before it really begins, but yeah, the utility is cool, and that's just one of those things like. Yeah, you can be pretty banged up and and so, when I hurt my knee, it's like all good. Like find something to do, find something to just stay busy. Like uh there's something to be said, I think, about activities that you can do, at home alone. Like think that's dope.
Yeah, I assume the answer is I mean on a huge spectrum, but how many hours I mean typically how many hours go into one quilt?
Oh man, it totally depends, on of course, on how intricate it is and everything, but like even a small one would probably, I mean, a really simple one, you could probably bang it out in like, if you were going like really simple, really, you could maybe do it in like, a day, 10 hours, but it's like, I just made like a quilt for a buddy of mine, Rile Frena. He's an amazing artist as well, worth checking out, but this thing took me like it was big and fairly detailed, and it's like even using like 100% on a machine, um, 60 hours for show, just not including like the planning before you even get it. But you start ripping by hand, you can spend 80 hours on a quilt.
That's incredible though. I'm like kind of equating it. You know, like a video, you gotta film and edit. It takes forever to see the final product. Quilt, same thing, like takes a while, but then the finished product is so beautiful and is probably not at all what you would have thought it would be like when it begins. So it's probably got like some duality in that way, gives you the same sort of feeling at the end of it.
100%. Yeah, it's just fulfilling to like, come around the final bend and be like, fuck yeah, I'm about to be done, and you feel that way like by force at the end of every winter, you're like, well, we're about to be done, let's fucking wrap it up. Or you're piecing together something, you got like one section left, you're like just hyped, Um, and again, to just loop back to what I mentioned, I think what's cool about that is like that's a way to kind of get that feeling, that it, you know, involves, I can do it from my apartment in like this, like in like using like half of my living room. Like that's it. Like uh you can kind of like get your fix, and I don't know, sometimes if you're like, fuck, I want to skate, but also I feel like yeah, I don't want to eat shit today, You just don't skate and just do that or something.
Yeah, yeah, way safer. I would assume less injury at the end of the day.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. You're like hurting from this session yesterday and you want to like do something, like yeah, and that's just cool. It's like it's a good time to be alone and to like, listen to music or podcasts, That's like I can't say I'm much of a podcast listener other than like when I'm sewing. It feels like the only time where I have enough like a chunk of time where I can like sit down and like actually like get into the content and think about it and actually like get on for the whole ride, you know.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say they don't listen to many podcasts unless they're making something like in the studio or like doing something creative, like listening to people talk about maybe what they do creative helps them get creative. I don't know if anyone treats this one that way, but I like to think if even one person did ever, that's very cool.
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like notably, I don't listen to many podcasts. You know, I listen to like this one airtime podcast, maybe like the bomb hole. Those are two snowboarding ones, and then like some like maybe some like rah rah philosophy shit, and like that's it. You know, like uh that's all I got, which is great for me. Like,
You don't need much more, I would say.
oh
I don't listen to that many of them either, and it's kind of funny to make one and not like be submersed in the whole like culture of it all, but I don't find many that really grip me either.
yeah, I mean, and I think like uh especially like with the other with like the snowboarding podcast, like I mean, and same with Nowhere Fast, like it's like if I only watch it if I feel like listen if I feel like I have a good reason, and like I mean with the guests that you put on, like I feel like I have a good reason more than anything else. It's like I want to hear what people I'm interested in say, but there's like, there's a lot of people saying a lot of shit all over the internet that I really truly do not care about whatsoever. Um, Obviously, the internet is fried. There's people saying the stupidest, rudest, most bigoted things all the time. So I'm a I'm gonna take the breath of fresh air where I can get it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I was gonna say the internet is pretty much 99% the worst things you can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It is like, um, so it's just so diluted, like social media is crazy. It's like the necessary evil, um, almost, and I don't know, it's interesting.
For sure. They're definitely necessary evil. Or I don't even know how necessary the evil is, but they've convinced us it is.
100%. And this is also like, we're definitely taught like snowboarding, it feels like the focus of this conversation. I mean, and then maybe a good light following up with Chaz, is that um he outlines that, in that space about how it is. And even with Vans, like, I try not to use it myself. Like I'm an occasional poster, but like when I was my role with Vans was like managing this snowboard team in Canada, and I would tell these people like I don't personally, like I don't care. And if people know me, like I feel fine saying this when I'm like, personally, it doesn't matter to me. Like some of my favorite snowboarders and skateboarders don't have Instagram. Jake Johnson, like he's the GOAT. You know, uh, but like Jake Johnson can get a Converse shoe uh, and make it work because he's Jake Johnson. You know what I mean? Like if you're coming up in snowboarding right now, you need to have a presence online, and it's like again, it should be a tool to help you do what you want to do. It should be a tool to help you go snowboarding or skateboarding. Like, damn, if I post this little clip on my Instagram story or whatever, I get to go on a snowboarding trip, like done. It's easy. Don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Um, but it was just funny, to loop back, sorry to, uh, I'd tell the team, like, please, some of them, and I'm like, please post something. Like, just because if somebody in an office that doesn't get it is looking at two people and one person is gonna get a raise and one won't, or one person is gonna get kept on the team and the other person is gonna get cut. Um the one that has Instagram is probably gonna take the upper hand, you know?
Yeah, that I mean that's actually probably the simplest and most straightforward explanation for that ever. I think Chaz did a great job, but I think that actually makes more sense and is more concise of a thought. Like that's yeah, that's exactly right. And I said it to Chaz like I don't think anyone needs to have it. Like, truly, you could argue you can get by without it, but it is like a little bonus to have it, and it might keep your sponsorship or it might make you a bit more money. So, like, why not? So, I guess, like, thinking about that, it is necessarily evil.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like, uh, yeah, like, it's part of the job nowadays. You know what I mean? So, like, again, do that, but don't overthink it. And what I'd say to everybody too, I'm like, if you're like, again, in the scope of snowboarding, but this is anything, like, if you're good enough to get paid to snowboard, like, it doesn't matter what you post on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, you're fucking good. Like, you know, like most people don't get it. You know, the people that do, that are in it enough to understand, like, obviously it does matter. Have your personal standards, but again, you don't get to that point if you don't uphold your personal standards already, So keep doing what you're doing. Like, like, and like, don't do it for Instagram. That's like the thing. And I don't know. Like the whole thing, like Chaz mentioned this and again, I'm a huge fan. Like when like Finn and I came up on the Catfish Chronicles, like we were that was huge for us as kids. We watched every single video that came out, and Chaz was the one that posted it. You know what I mean? Um, but what he said, he's like, snowboarders are influencers, and like, I'm gonna take a stand and I'm gonna disagree with them. In terms of like, I think that snowboarders are they can be influential in this space, but like, we're not influencers, you know? We're influential, maybe, or we as in like snowboarders that get paid have to post on Instagram because they're influential, but hopefully they're not doing it for that, like to me, I draw a line in the sand between an influencer is like doing it purely for the reason of influencing somebody else. That's what you're doing. You're trying to get your Instagram bag from Skims or some shit, I don't know.
Yeah, no lie. I absolutely know what you mean. I agree. Actually, more with your style. I know, like, what you're saying, like what they say can influence people, but they're not really setting out to like sell. Like, yeah, they're not like pushing things like a quote influencer would be.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is maybe they are sometimes, you see people doing like fucking branded posts and all that shit. And also at this point now, like I don't even hate on that. I'm like, get your bag, rent's due, rent's due on the first. You you know, like rip it, whatever. At the end of the day, too, like if you post like some bullshit online and you get 5,000 USD for it, like who am I to hate? Fuck it. Like hopefully it's not like the most busted stuff, but like at the end of the day, I don't know. It sucks that people are like, advertising sports drinks to kids, like, or like energy drinks. Like that's pretty whack. But also like, that Monster Patch Red Bull hat, puts money in the game. And so do those targeted ads. I don't know. You see Mark McMorris making a Subway ad, and you're like, get your bread, quite literally. You know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with all that too. It's not my favorite thing to watch people that I love doing that, but then it's like, well, I do enjoy seeing people I admire and friends that get paid. So I guess as long as it's not like the most heinous like thing and harming anyone and influencing something really bad, like you might as well get paid a bit.
Yeah, ideally there's no moral predicament, you know. Obviously I think, you know, there's a whole conversation about, you know, uh maybe influencing in any way online. You could get into an ethical debate. Um, but like the other thing is that it's like I don't like to see that, you know? But I'm also not going to spend time looking at it unless I think it's funny, you know? Because that's the two things can be true at once. You know, I can support somebody getting paid and also laugh at their Instagram post. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
of
like
course.
it can be both, and you can be like, you know what? Fuck, that's cringe. And then you hear that they got 10,000 bucks, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I'll keep scrolling, and hopefully so do you. And fuck it. Like, um, you know. But yeah. Just to yeah to loop back. I don't know. I think, you know, it's one thing to be influential and like post shit that's cool, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, no, of course. I agree with all of that.
Let me say though, I also at the same time I will just say I agree with Chaz, and literally, uh, you know, everything he said. He's actually goated, and you know, catfish style quite literally came from the bottom. He didn't miss a thing. Um, but yeah, the influencer stuff scares me.
Yeah, no, it's just getting worse and worse by the day. And every time I think it's gonna let up and there'll be less of it, there's more of it. So it truly is like scary, and it just it has a mind of its own at this point, and it's like I don't even know if anyone's any of our opinions are gonna change it. I think now it's kind of in the hands of whoever has the most money and the highest up at all these companies.
100%, man. You know, like. Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I just saw a study a few days ago talking about uh like digital learning, you know, and screen exposure, and it's like now, you know, and maybe in ours or at least the next one, like the current like young generation is like underperforming, like, you know, future generations should be should, you know, again, quotation marks here, like should be outperforming uh the previous generations, you know, just in the name of like knowing what they knew and then exploring more, you know, and just like it just seems that like screens are completely you know, fucking our brains and our attention spans and our the youth's attention spans, which, you know, I also uh you know, still relate to, even though, you know, I'm about to be 30, but thankfully I still have memories of calling you know, my friends' home phones. Like it wasn't like social media from the inception. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, you were like the last ones probably. Now it's so brutal. Like I have a younger sister, and she seems to be somewhat in control of it all. But I hear about her like friends, people she goes to school with. It's insane. Like that's scarier than the influencing. Actually, is just the phones in general.
I'm like, you know, that's still one of those things like I hear about younger kids. I'm like, 8 hours average a day or some shit. Like I've heard kids at like the skate shop overheard I'm talking about shit like that. And I'm like, you're on your phone for 8 fucking hours, dude? Like, what? Are you sleeping enough? I mean, and even still, you know, I'll be the first to say, you know, the amount of time I spent on my fucking phone, like I could have learned something else and probably gotten pretty good at it in that time, you know. It's but I also just remind myself to go easy sometimes when it's like, you know, there's whole teams of people way fucking smarter than I am trying to make it as addictive as possible, and god damn it if they're not good at their job, you know.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I hate that it got this way, but it's like you gotta. I mean, maybe not respect, but at least like they are. Their job is bad, but they are good at that job.
100%. Yeah, and like yeah, I don't know, it's just crazy. Like there's like crazy lawsuits happening in California right now about against like Google and Meta like about their algorithms and like how they kind of expose the youth to I mean terrible things and also kind of kibosh their attention spans. But yeah, when I was in school, I read something too. I remember about how like if you look at your phone for 30 seconds, uh, you have broken your focus and it's going to take you like at least 15 minutes, average 15 minutes to get back to the level of concentration you were at before, you know? So if you check your phone every 15 minutes, you're never focused. Yeah. Like like you never will get there. Like
Yeah,
it's
I've
crazy.
seen similar stuff where, it's like even if I'm watching a movie with Sarah and she takes the dog out, I've like stopped checking my phone in that break. Like, even though the movie is paused, I've learned not to look because then it's harder to like get back into the movie. And like people looking at their phone like on coffee breaks or smoke breaks or even just like every now and then at work, it just kind of messes up the whole day because they're like constantly on and off focus like that. Also a terrifying thought about all of it.
Dude, 100. I mean, like the greatest example for this that I always think about is like, if you're like if you're on the bus, like, or the train, like you perceive somebody differently if they're on their phone or if they're not, like, and I feel this way about myself sometimes when I'm like, black hoodie, hood up, chilling, but it's like, oh, you're on your phone, it's all good. You're not even here, but if you're not on your phone, you're present, and then maybe, in certain spaces that could be a concern or something, but it's literally like you see somebody on their phone, they're not there, literally.
Yeah,
Like it's insane.
yeah, of course. Terrifying. Um, I know you gotta get to work. Again, I thank you so much for squeezing this in before you had to do that. But before I take us both off, do you want to let anyone listening know where they can find you or anything you want to promote right now? The mic is yours. Please go ahead.
Yeah, man. I don't know, classically, like, I mean, first and foremost, thank you, Wes, for having me on and hearing what I had to say. I hope people find some interest in it and like I appreciate that. Always cool to talk that shit. I don't know, my family, friends, my parents, my partner, all the homies, shout out. I don't know, find me online if you want to. No, I'm not posting much. So, yeah. I don't know. Come into nine times and say what up or something. Um, yeah. That's that.
Where can they find you online?
I think Instagram is the best. Yeah, Instagram. My handle is 3 kilometer radius. That's my 3 kilometers is my perception of close to home. So that's the backstory there. The people and places within your 3 kilometer radius, I think, are the most essential to your livelihood and your well-being. So, um, yeah.
That's very sick. Very, very thoughtful name. I don't know what anyone's handles mean, but that's a very eloquent one.
Well, one day, I mean, I've been literally since that I have there's a 3 kilometer radius zine in the works. I just have like a bunch of like snow and skate photos and other shit, all within that space. So eventually there'll be something else there. But yeah, if somebody feels so obliged, um, that would be it, you know.
Very cool. I feel we could have kept this going on forever. There's so much more stuff I would like to know about. I think you have such a. I mean, Will Frazier told me this when I told him we were doing it. That you have a really nice way of wording things, and I think like the quotes and snippets from this episode are like endless. I think some of the quotes you've dropped are next level.
Thank you, Wes. I mean, yo, shout out to Will too. He played an important role in forming uh my psyche probably and Finn's too, back in the day. So shout out for real. Uh if I had a big brother, it would probably be Will. So respect that. And yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. It was really cool, and yeah, it was also a pleasure for me to have a conversation. Following uh the one up with Finn. I'd like to think that it wasn't. Uh, I didn't only speak in complete redundancy, so that I like that. That's cool, and yeah, it could. I wish I didn't have to squeeze out of here. I'm sure there'd be more to get into, and we'll save that for a later day.
Yeah, of course. We'll do a round two sooner than later. But enjoy the day. Have fun at work. Say hi to Kevin if you see him.
For sure, yeah, boss man. Most definitely I will, man. Absolutely. Yeah, you have a good day too, Wes. Yeah, thank you for your time. Your time and consideration and ongoing efforts, with the ongoing branding experiment, man. The run keeps going. I wish I yeah, well, I never made it into the shop, but I wish I did and to know that you're keep rocking, shit's dope, man.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.